now. All right, go for it, Mike.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Anna, for inviting me to this talk, to give this talk to your students and to everyone here. What's up, guys? I'm Mike Sibal. I'm from San Diego, California. I'm joining you live right now. So this is kind of interesting. I've never given like a live talk via Zoom before. So hopefully this goes well. I'm really praying the Holy Spirit and all the saints behind me, there's like 20 of them, will keep praying for us as we talk about them today. So first of all, I think it's so appropriate you guys did a Family Feud game because we are going to be talking about relationships in this talk. So I hope you guys learn a lot about, first and foremost, relationships. That's what our faith is about. It's about relationships. So if anyone tells you otherwise, that's not true. It's not about rules. It's not about being perfect. It's not about anything like that. It's about our relationship with Christ and our relationship with one another. And I know you guys as young people, relationships is a big issue right now. It's a big deal in your lives, and you're trying to figure it out. And so hopefully the saints and I can help you guys to figure those relationships out with Christ and with one another. All right, so I'm just going to talk a little bit first before I get into like what the saints mean to me. I want to talk a little bit about what the church teaches us about saints. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about saints before. You've heard that there are men and women in heaven who are holy, who are with Christ, who are helping us in different ways. But I want to talk about it in a little different way. So first of all of us are called to be saints. I'm sure you guys have heard that from Miss Anna, from your teacher, from a lot of people, from priests. We are all called to be saints. Every single one of us in this Zoom meeting, I see there's 4 pages of you guys. All of you are called to be saints. But there's a difference between a saint and a saint, meaning a saint with a lowercase s, that's all of us, right? Every single one of us on this planet, we're called to be lowercase s's. When that lowercase s becomes an uppercase s, that means that you're part of that special group in heaven that the church has decided they are officially with Christ, they are in heaven, and we can pray to them and ask them to pray for us as well. So there's the difference there. We, all of us here on earth, and those who are on their way to heaven, we are considered lowercase s, but we're still considered saints, right? So all of us are considered saints. It's just a difference in officiality of the saint. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to become an uppercase saint. In the church, there's a specific process that we partake in order for that to happen. Well, not really us, but the magisterium, those who are in charge of how the church functions as a body, as a group here on earth, right? So if you guys want, you can take notes on this because I think it's going to be a really good thing to know, just if you're talking to a friend, like, hey, how does the person become a saint? Like, how does the church decide whether that person is a saint or not? So it's 5 easy steps. I try to break it down into a really simple way so you guys can understand it and hopefully have a discussion about it with your friends or whatever. So you guys have all heard of like Saint Anthony, like Saint Therese, Saint Michael. All these saints went through some type of process in order to get to that title. And so we're going to talk about that in 5 easy steps. Hopefully you guys get it by the end of the 5 steps. So the first stage is pretty simple. You have to die. You got to die in order to become a saint. So the first step is you got to die. Unfortunately, you can't have a live saint, but they have to be alive in heaven, right? So that's what we believe about saints, is they're not alive here, but they're alive with the Lord. So the first step is you got to be deceased, and you have to know people who knew about you, right? So all of you guys here, I'm sure all of you have at least one friend, right? If you're trying to be a saint, like a capital S saint, you have to know at least like a person or a family member who knew how you were here on earth, right? And then these people, what they're going to do, these people, the friends and family that you left behind, what they're going to do, if they feel that you lived a life of holiness, if you lived a life of like legit Christianity, then they can approach their local bishop. Like, I don't know who your guys' bishop is in your diocese, but here in our diocese in San Diego, we have Bishop McElroy. So let's say I passed, God willing, or God, whatever he wanted, I passed, right? My friends, if they wanted me to become a saint, they would have to approach Bishop McElroy and be like, hey, Bishop, like, so Mike lived this life of like holiness. He prayed this every day, he helped these people every day, he did this, he did that. And they would have to come up with all these documents and writings saying that, yeah, indeed, that person did holy things while they were alive. Now, the bishop, what the bishop's going to do is, okay, he's going to decide based on all the writings that are given to him, like, all right, are these people just trying to, lie to me? Are they legit? Are they being sincere? He's going to go through all those documents and make a decision whether or not that is true or not. Once the bishop says yes to that, says yes to the like submission of documents, he then is going to give all those documents and all those eyewitness accounts to the Vatican. And in the Vatican, where the Pope lives, there is a special committee called the Congregation for the Causes of Saints, right? So it's a special group of priests, of experts, and then they go ahead and look over all the documents that were sent from my friends, right? Or from your friends and family. So in the second stage, it's at the Vatican, right? So at the Vatican, the Congregation of the Causes for Saints can either accept or reject the application, right? They can either be like, you know what, it sounds nice, but we really don't believe that this person was holy enough to be considered a capital S saint. So if they reject it, then it's denied. That's the end of that cause. However, if they decide, yeah, this person is legit, then they'll keep going with the investigation. And at this point, they're going to go even deeper. They're going to go do their own investigation, send their own specialists to the diocese where that person died, and they're going to go ahead and look into the cause themselves, right? At the end of that second investigation, if they find that everything is true, that person then is considered a servant of God, right? Keep in mind, that's a very important title because that's the first title you need in order to become a saint one day. So servant of God is number one, right? Once the person is a servant of God, even more investigation is done. So now they're going to talk to specialists and even psychiatrists, doctors, different people. We're going to come in and see, like, is this person, again, really legit? Or if he's not, or he and she's not, then we're going to end the case right there. If they decide that person is legit, then that person can be considered a blessed, right? A blessed. However, that person can only be a blessed if the investigation that happened had miracles involved. So there has to be one miracle involved in order for it to be legit, right? So I'm just going to change my view really quick because, all right. So once those first two steps are done, the third step is they're trying to figure out whether or not this person's really blessed or not. And this requires a miracle. So what that's going to involve is the people who are like team Anna or whatever your guys' name. Let me look at some of your names. Team Isaac or Elizabeth, Team Ashlyn, whatever it is, whatever your name is, right? People have to start praying to you to ask for certain favors, right? So for example, I'm just going to choose Ashlyn because she has a bunch of flowers on her head and she already looks like a saint. All right. So like Ashlyn, like let's say, she passed and her friends and family are like, Ashlyn was super holy. And I know for sure that if your friend has cancer, Ashlyn is going to pray for that person and they will be healed. Right? So let's say a group of people start praying for someone who has cancer through Ashlyn's intercession, right? And let's say there's a miracle that happens, like that person is totally cancer-free overnight. They're going to go ahead and report that to the Vatican's Congregation for the Causes of Saints. And then the Vatican is going to see, okay, was that miracle, was it instantaneous? Did it happen right away, right? Did it last for a long time? And also, like, was there no medical explanation for it, right? If all those three qualifications happen, then Ashlyn is considered Blessed Ashlyn, right? Because she got her first miracle. So congrats. You got it. So Ashlyn is now Blessed Ashlyn, right? And so like her friends and family and everyone who experienced the miracle, they're like, but she has to be a saint though. We're not content with just blessed, right? She has to be a capital S saint. That's the goal. So what needs to happen then is a second miracle needs to happen. So I'm going to pick on Natalie because she also has some kind of saint thing going on in her head. So like, so Natalie is going to say like, hey, like, I knew Ashlyn and I know for sure she's a saint. So Natalie now is going to pray for her son who has who has COVID, for example, right? Who has COVID, and let's say her son has COVID, and the doctors are like, you know what, your son's gonna die tonight, and Natalie's like, no, but I know that Ashlyn's gonna pray for my son, and so Natalie prays to Ashlyn, and then her son literally is healed overnight with no scientific evidence, whatever. He's just healed, like straight up healed. They're going to report that case again to the Vatican. Since that's the second miracle, then we're going to have Blessed Ashlyn is now Saint Ashlyn, right? And that final say has to be done by the Pope himself. So once all this investigation happens, once all the, everything, the witnesses come in, the miracles come in, Pope Francis himself has to be like, yeah, Ashlyn's legit. She's a saint. And then they're going to have what's called a canonization, which means they're going to have a huge celebration saying that Ashlyn is now in heaven with all the saints and angels, with Christ, with Mary, and she's a saint now. So that's the fast version of it. Trust me, there's so much that goes on with the beatification and canonization process, but you guys can ask me questions about specifics later, but that's in a nutshell how it works. So does that make sense? Kind of thumbs up if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, we'll talk later. Trust me, I can talk for hours about saints. So that's kind of the quick version, right? But I don't want you guys to focus on that though. To be honest, I don't want you to focus on like, you know what? Now I gotta like do miracles. Now I have to like be this super holy person. Now I have to be like the best person ever. Like that's not what sainthood is about. I want you to just realize the church has a process, but that's not the process that we're on right now. We're on the process of, again, relationship. We're in a process of growing in relationship to Christ and growing in relationship to one another. And for me, that's true sainthood. True sainthood is being able to love God and love others in the best way, right? To love God and love others in a way that's pure, in a way that's truthful, in a way that's intentional, in a way that's selfless. That's what being a saint is about. And that's what we're going to talk about this evening. I know we don't have that much time, but I'm going to try to get through it in a way that is effective and fruitful for you guys. So I broke it into 3 topics, right? And those 3 topics I'm going to connect to different saints that you guys might know about. So the first topic, the first thing that I think sainthood is about is how to love God and others, right? So I've already mentioned that, but how to love God and others. And my example for this is going to be Saint Therese, right? Do you guys know who Saint Therese is? If you do, raise your hand, thumbs up. Saint Therese, the little flower. She's in like every single church all over the United States. I have a statue somewhere here. Okay, so this is Saint Therese. She's sitting down here, but you guys know her. She's a nun. She's super young. She died at like 20, is it 20 something? I'm not sure. Anna, you might, 24, yeah. So she's very young. I'm just going to talk a little bit about her. So Saint Therese was a normal girl, like just like all of you women here, you young women here. She was a normal girl, but she really, really loved her family, and she really, really loved God. And because of that love, she was called into the religious life, to the Carmelites, at a very young age. She even asked the Pope if she could enter at an age where it wasn't possible to enter. And she was able to enter at that super early age. And what I want to talk about is how the sisters treated her, right? The sisters St. Therese lived with did not like her. I know a lot of you guys are in high school, you deal with drama. That's what happened with St. Therese. There were people who were gossiping about her all the time, people who were belittling her all the time, saying she was lazy, saying she was too young, saying she was this, saying she was that. But St. Therese knew that in order for her to be a saint, and that's what she wanted, she always wanted to be a saint. In order for her to be a saint, the secret was she needed to love even the people who were gossiping about her, even the people who were belittling her. That's what she knew she needed to do in order to become a saint. So there's even stories about sisters who felt like they were Therese's best friends, even if Therese wrote, I really didn't like this girl, but I knew I had to love her. Right, Anna. I know you're nodding, and you read her. Her autobiography is called "A Story of a Soul," so I recommend you guys read that. But in her diary, in her autobiography, she talks about the different sisters who she couldn't stand. They were so annoying to her. They were always bothering her. And when she died, these same sisters thought she was their best friend, because when she was alive, she treated them as her best friend because she knew she needed to love. And that's the secret of sainthood, is love. And so that's my first point, is we need to learn how to love God. Like Saint Therese, she loved God with all her heart, and we need to learn to love others, even those who are hard to love, like what she went through. And that's what Saint Therese did. So that's my first example of sainthood, love with Saint Therese. Second is a little bit different. My second bullet, or whatever you want to call it, is we need to learn how to value how our personalities and our gifts glorify God, right? Again, we need to value how our personalities and how our gifts glorify God, right? So I'm looking around in this room, and there's so many of you guys, and just by looking at you guys from your cameras, I can already tell you guys have hobbies, you guys have interests, you guys have things you like to do. Some of you like to play sports, some of you guys like music, some of you guys like TikTok, whatever it is. Some of you guys like cooking, some of you guys want to be nurses. All these different things, just let me tell you right now, they are from God. At a very early age, even I would say in the womb, the Lord put different desires on each of your hearts, right? Those desires, because of our friends, because of our family, because of TV, they've blossomed into true talents, true hobbies, true interests. Those are all things that all the saints embraced, right? All the saints knew if they loved music, they needed to embrace that music. If they loved cooking, they needed to embrace cooking. If they loved sports, they were athletic. If they loved reading, they read the whole library. That's how saints were. It was all or nothing for them, right? So for this second bullet, I want to talk about Blessed Carlo Acutis, right? Blessed Carlo Acutis is one of my favorites, not because every single person in the world loves him right now, because I see in him true sainthood. I see in him a true desire to embrace the talents and gifts that the Lord has given him. Did you guys know Carlo Acutis loved video games? Right? He loved media. He loved the internet, right? Blessed Carlo loved being with friends. He loved traveling. He loved seeing new places. All of these things, right? He never shied away from, because he knew that the Lord himself was the one to place those desires on his heart. Yeah, Blessed Carlo didn't use these things for evil, though, right? He didn't use the internet for evil. He didn't use video games for evil. He used it to glorify God, right? He used it to show people that, yes, I'm a child, and yes, I'm a Catholic, but I'm happy, right? And I'm happy doing this because I know the Lord is blessing me with these desires. And so for you guys, I want to just let you guys know and encourage all of you, whatever it is in your life that you love to do, whether that's painting or playing sports or dancing or listening to music or creating your own music, whatever, don't ever let anyone tell you, even in the church, don't ever let anyone tell you that that's not of God. Those things are of God. What's not of God is how we abuse them, right? If you have certain talents and you abuse it because you want to glorify yourself, or you want to do something that's super, sinful, and everyone else is doing it, so I want to do it now, like, that is not of God. But the talent itself, the gift itself, the desire itself, that's of God. And that's how you reach holiness, is by embracing that gift and living it out to the fullest, right? That's how you become a saint. All the saints that we can talk about today, all of them had passions, all of them. And each of them embraced those passions, knowing that the Lord blessed them with those in the first place. So being a saint is not being perfect. It's not about being a statue. It's not about being someone that every single person likes. It's about pleasing God with everything you do. And that includes embracing your talents, embracing your gifts. So I really encourage all of you guys. You guys are so young. Whatever it is that you want to do in life, ask the Lord to bless it, and he will bless it 100-fold if you do it with a pure heart. I promise you guys that, right? For example, just a little autobiography, quick version of it. I was in the religious life for 3 years. I was on the journey to be a priest, right? And maybe I still am on that journey. However, when I was in the seminary, right, I would see guys who would tell me in our conversations, "Hey, dude, like, I love football or I love like soccer, but like that's not what priests do. And I'm like, who told you that's not what priests do? Like that just doesn't look like a priest. I'm like, well, then you're looking at the wrong priest then. You're looking at a priest who doesn't trust that the Lord loves them. You're looking at a priest who doesn't believe that he was blessed with certain gifts. You're looking at a priest who doesn't trust that the Lord can do powerful things through football, right? That's what they would tell me. Like, I love to cook. I love to cook. Like, it's one of my biggest passions. I love trying new food. I'm a foodie at heart. I love it. I love it so much. And when I was in seminary, a lot of brothers would be like, "Hey, like that's not what priests do. Like we shouldn't just cook. We should be in the chapel praying all day." I'm like, "Hold on, hold on. We have religious orders who do that all day, who pray all day and praise God. That's their role. But I know for a fact the Lord is not asking that of me. I cooked for our community all the time, and it brought so much joy to the community. It brought so much love and life to the community. If I were to agree with those brothers who said I should be in the chapel 24/7, that joy wouldn't have happened. That life wouldn't have happened. So I'm telling you guys, if anyone tells you, hey, like that's not what Catholics do, or like that's not what Christians do, you need to reevaluate that sentence and say, but does Christ want me to do it though? Does Christ want me to be happy? Right? And if the answer is yes, then you do that thing glorifying God. I promise you, fruits and joy and peace will come into your life if you do it that way, right? Because the church is not here to tell people to stop living. That's not what the church is here for. The church is here to tell people live your life with Christ as your banner, right? Live your life with a heart that loves like Christ. Live your life with the joy of Christ. That's what the church wants us to do. And I want you guys to do that as young people. Don't ever let anyone tell you that, no, being a Catholic looks like this. No, no two saints are alike. I can't say that Saint Therese was like Blessed Carlo. I can't say that Blessed Carlo was like Saint John Paul II. I can't say that John Paul II was exactly like Saint Francis. You know why? Because they were never meant to be. We were all called to be the saints that God made us to be, right? So I can never be another Saint Michael. Anna can never be another Saint Michael, Anna, right? We can't do that because that's what the Lord designed for us. He designed us to be unique and love that uniqueness, embrace it, and live it out to the fullest. So that's our second point, is we need to value our personalities, value the talents and the gifts that the Lord gives us, and glorify God with them, all right? So number three, and this is the last one, I promise it's not going to take too long. I know you guys are, it's getting late, but number three is we need to learn how to be joyful in the midst of suffering, right? Again, we need to be joyful in the midst of suffering. And I'm going to invite my two friends in, Saint Francisco and Jacinta here, because they are prime examples of this. I don't know if you guys know Saint Jacinta and Saint Francisco. I know a lot of you are Portuguese, so you should know them. But if you don't know them, they, at a very early age, were able to see the Blessed Mother, right? They saw Our Lady of Fatima. The church teaches this, and I believe it. They saw Our Lady of Fatima at like the age of 7 and probably 8 or 9, and that was a huge event in their life. But that's not why they became saints, right? It is not because they saw the Blessed Mother. That's why they're saints. They're saints today is because, you know why they're saints? Because Saint Jacinta and Francisco, after the apparitions, became very sick. I don't know if you guys know that. They became super sick because of a pandemic, because of something like COVID, right? During that time, the Spanish flu was killing so many people in Spain, Portugal, and they unfortunately were affected by this. And it was so painful that Saint Jacinta and Francisco were confined to their beds at the ages of 9 and 10, right? Imagine little kids who couldn't even play, who couldn't even get up. They were confined to their beds. But even in their suffering, they knew that they were about to see Christ, so they were joyful. They were happy kids, even to the point when, you know, the doctors, like they were saying, one story is the doctors, right, told Jacinta, hey, we need to do a surgery on your either abdomen or something. And she said, you know, I don't want anesthesia. I don't want you to apply any anesthesia because I want to offer it up for Our Lady and for God and for sinners. And I'm so happy that I'm about to see Jesus. I'm so happy that I'm about to see Mary. Imagine a 9-year-old or 8-year-old girl saying that. I don't want anesthesia. I just want to see Jesus. That's going to bring me joy. That is true sainthood. Saint Jacinta and Francisco weren't theologians. They didn't know anything about what the church taught. They weren't intelligent. They didn't accomplish anything. However, in their hearts, they knew relationship. They knew how to love God. They knew how to love others, right? That's the key. And even to the end of their lives, like Francisco and Jacinta, when Jacinta died, she asked because Our Lady said, hey, your last sacrifice is going to be to die alone. That's going to be your last sacrifice for me, and it's going to save so many souls. So Saint Jacinta, even if she really loved her parents, she said, I don't want to see my parents. I have to die alone for the sake of the world, for the sake of sinners. And when she died, they said that she looked to the corner of the room and she was smiling. She says, Our Lady is here to pick me up. That's her last words. And she was smiling, right? What about us? Like, there's so many times in our lives when we don't get something we want, or there's something going on in our lives that makes us like frustrated. We don't even smile. We don't even, we're not even thankful. And yet, this is a little girl dying from a pandemic, and she's dying alone without her family. And the last thing she does is smile because she sees Our Lady. Like, that is so beautiful. And that's true sainthood, right? And speaking of Our Lady, that's how we're going to close. Every single saint in history, it doesn't matter where that saint is from, loves Our Lady, right? They loved Our Lady so much because Our Lady showed them how to truly and perfectly love Christ, right? So all of you guys who are here and listening to me right now, like, if you forget everything I said this evening, just remember to stay close to Mary regardless. Okay, a lot of you guys are Portuguese. Our Lady of Fatima is huge for you, but don't make it cultural. Make it a relationship. Be in a relationship with your mom. Mary is your mom. And at this early age, you guys are what, like, how old are you guys? Like 14, 15, 16? I don't know how old you are. Yeah. Oh, 17, up 18. Oh, lower 12. Okay, anyways, young people, right? Young people, you guys are being formed right now by Mary, right? She formed Christ, who is God. She taught him how to read. She taught him how to walk. She taught him how to eat. She taught him how to everything. So let her teach you guys how to be a saint, because Mary is a saint and she's the queen of all saints. And I promise you, if you don't want to have any devotion to any other saint, if you have a devotion to Mary, everything else will fall into place. You will start to see things so much differently. You will start to see your faith in such a beautiful way, because Mary cannot give you anything ugly. Mary can only give you something beautiful, right? And so if you guys want to be saints, I'm telling you, get close to Mary, because she will help you from now, from this day forward. She will start to form your hearts and your lives to be like Christ. All right. So I talked a lot this evening, and I can still continue talking, but it's like, I don't know what time it is, but I hope you guys learned something from me. And yeah, that's all I have. Well, I have